The first warning did not come from a sensor or a satellite. It came from a quiet moment, a strange, unnatural silence that settled over the command center of Earth's defense fleet. Officers moved between glowing screens, analysts whispered to each other, and the hum of machines filled the room. But beneath all of it, something felt wrong, as if the air itself was waiting to break. Grand Admiral Elena Rise stood at the center of the command deck, watching the flow of data on the main screen. She had spent 40 years preparing humanity for the unknown, but even she felt a chill run down her spine. Something was coming, something big. She could feel it in her bones. Behind her, the officers worked with calm discipline, but their eyes showed quiet worry. They all sensed it, too. A junior officer suddenly raised his voice, breaking the tension. Admiral, long-range telescopes picked up movement near the edge of the solar system. It's not ours. The room fell silent. Even the hum of machines felt distant. "Show me," Elena ordered. The main display shifted. Dozens of dark shapes moved against the stars, sharp, cold, and organized. They were not drifting, they were advancing. "What formation is that?" another officer asked. Nobody answered, because none of them had ever seen anything like it. The computer finally identified the pattern. A message flashed across the screen in bright red letters: "Unknown Dominion Fleet." The words felt heavy, alien, threatening. A name humanity had never heard before, yet instantly understood. This was not peaceful contact. This was not exploration. This was war. The room began to fill with quick commands, footsteps, and the rapid tapping of keys. Alarm lights glowed along the walls. The tension in the air snapped, replaced with cold fear and adrenaline. Elena kept her voice steady. "How long until they reach inner space?" "Less than 9 hours, Admiral." 9 hours? Humanity had waited centuries to discover intelligent life. They never expected that the first words spoken would be in the language of violence. "Any communication from them?" Elena asked. "Nothing, not a signal. Not even a scan request." The officer swallowed hard. "It's like they don't care who we are." Elena understood the meaning. This fleet was not here to talk. While Earth prepared emergency protocols, something else was happening across the solar system. On Mars, mining crews felt tremors through their equipment as dust storms rose suddenly, disturbed by something far above. On Titan, research teams watched strange lights flicker across the black sky. And on the orbital colonies, civilians rushed to their windows, watching streaks of distant fire descend toward Earth's orbit. Across every settlement, fear spread like cold smoke. Elena did not allow herself to feel it. Not yet. She watched the incoming fleet, studying every formation, every movement. Whoever commanded them was not reckless. They were precise, confident, certain of victory. "Try hailing them again," she said quietly. The officer nodded and sent the transmission. Static answered, then silence. A deep, low rumble shook the station. The lights flickered. Officers grabbed their consoles for balance. "What was that?" someone shouted. "Energy burst detected near the outer defense line." "Is it an attack?" "It hit one of our drone satellites. The entire grid is down." The first strike had begun. Elena felt something inside her tighten. This was no simple warning shot. The Dominion fleet had taken out an entire defense network in a single blast, as if clearing the path before stepping inside. "They're testing us," she said. The room looked at her. "They want to see how we react. They want to see how fast we break." No one argued. Everyone already knew it. The Dominion fleet advanced with terrifying speed. Their ships glowed with a pale, cold light that made them look like moving icebergs carved into weapons. They carried no markings, no symbols of diplomacy, only the promise of destruction. Earth sent its first wave of automated defense drones, hoping to slow them. For a brief moment, the command center watched with held breath. The drones approached the alien ships, small, fast, sharp. Bright flashes filled the screen, and then every drone went dark, destroyed in seconds. A heavy silence fell. Humanity had fired its first move, and it had meant nothing. Elena's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed calm. "Prepare full planetary shield activation. Alert every fleet under Earth command. No one fires unless I order it." Officers rushed to obey. Even in fear, they trusted her. But fear was everywhere else. Across Earth's cities, sirens echoed. People looked up at the sky, waiting for answers that had not yet come. News networks struggled to explain the sudden blackout in orbital defenses. Parents held their children close. Soldiers checked their rifles, whispering prayers they had not spoken in years. Everyone wanted to believe there was still a chance to talk, to negotiate. But in the darkness of space, the Dominion fleet opened small panels along their ships. More lights appeared, weapon ports. Elena saw it immediately. They're charging for a full strike. Another officer spoke with a shaking voice. Admiral, we're not ready. The fleet is not assembled yet. The shields need at least 20 minutes to stabilize. Elena did not look away from the screen. How many minutes until they fire? 4, maybe less. The command center fell silent once again. 4 minutes. 4 minutes until the first alien attack in human history. 4 minutes until millions could die. 4 minutes until everything changed. Elena closed her eyes for a second. She remembered her father taking her to watch the first starship launch when she was a child. She remembered dreaming of peace across the stars. She remembered believing humanity would meet friends among them. But now humanity was meeting something else, something that wanted them gone. She opened her eyes. They were cold, steady, and full of something dangerous, not fear, resolve. Send a message to every human fleet, she said. Her voice was quiet but strong enough to carry across the room. Tell them the truth. The officers waited. Tell them, she continued, that we did not start this, but we will finish it. Her words rolled through the room like thunder. Humanity might not have wanted this war, but humanity would answer it, and not with fear, with fury. The countdown reached its final minutes as the Dominion fleet continued to charge their weapons. The dark shapes of their warships filled the screen like floating mountains, silent and cold. They showed no fear, no hesitation, and no attempt to understand the species they were about to attack. Humanity was simply a target in their path, nothing more. In the command center, every officer was locked into their station as the air hummed with tension. Grand Admiral Elena Rise stood unmoving, her eyes fixed on the distant enemy. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Billions of lives depended on the decisions she would make in the next few minutes. A communication officer spoke quickly. Admiral, all human fleets report ready. They're moving to defensive positions as fast as possible. They're still scattered across multiple sectors, but they're coming. Good, Elena said. Every ship counts, every second counts. A different officer looked up from his console, fear hidden behind discipline. Planetary shields at 63%. We need more time. Time was the one thing the Dominion was not giving them. Sensors gave a sharp alarm as new data appeared across the main display. The alien ships were adjusting their positions, spreading into a wide attack pattern. Their formation looked like a giant, curved blade aimed directly at Earth. They're preparing a sweeping strike, the tactical officer said. They want maximum damage in the first attack, Elena replied. They want the planet broken before we can fight back. The officer swallowed hard. If they fire at full strength, they could destroy half our orbital infrastructure. Elena already knew. She also knew something else. If the Dominion expected fear, they would be disappointed. A junior officer suddenly shouted, Admiral, unknown signals inside our own defense perimeter. Everyone froze. What kind of signals? Elena asked. The officer zoomed in on the readings. The screen showed small, fast-moving objects darting through the outer satellites. They're launching probes, he said. No, not probes. These things are small attack drones. Stealth units, another officer added. They slipped past our sensors. The Dominion had not even fired yet, and they were already attacking from inside Earth's defenses. The drones moved like silver insects across the darkness, releasing bursts of energy that disabled satellites and scanning equipment. Elena's voice remained calm. Activate point defense systems, wipe them out. The nearest orbital stations reacted instantly. Small turrets rotated and unleashed rapid bursts of blue fire across space. Explosions flashed like tiny stars as the alien drones broke apart one by one. But more kept coming. They're clearing our sensors, Elena murmured, blinding us before the strike. It was a brutal, precise strategy. The Dominion did not want to take chances. They wanted humanity unable to see what was coming. The officer at the shield control spoke again. Admiral, shields at 78%. We're close. Hold steady, Elena said. Another alarm blared. Weapons on the Dominion ships reached final charging status. For the first time, the lights in the command center dimmed on their own, reacting to the huge energy reading from space. The Dominion was ready to fire. Every heart skipped. Every breath stopped. Even Elena's fingers curled tightly around the edge of the console. A whisper of fear passed through the room, not loud but real. Everyone knew the truth. Humanity was seconds away from being hit by a weapon they knew nothing about. The tactical officer's voice cracked. Impact in 30 seconds. Operators glanced at each other. Some clenched their teeth. Others whispered silent prayers. Elena stood unshaken. She looked toward the hollow display showing Earth, the blue oceans, the glowing cities, the world she had sworn to protect. She thought of the millions of families who had no idea how close destruction was. Shield level? Elena asked. 92%. Hold on, Elena whispered, almost to herself. The Dominion fleet released the attack. A beam of dark white energy erupted from their front ships, merging together into a long, deadly wave. It tore through space with impossible speed, warping the stars behind it. The magnitude of power was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. Brace for impact, the officer shouted. The screen lit with blinding light as the energy wave slammed into Earth's outer shield. The entire command center shook violently. Consoles flickered, sparks jumped from a panel, officers grabbed their seats to keep from falling. Shield integrity at 60%. The energy wave continued, hammering against the planet's protection like a cosmic fist. 48%. The floor trembled again as another shockwave hit. Elena held her ground. Maintain stability, use all auxiliary power, do not let that shield fail. Her voice cut through the chaos and gave the officers the strength to stay focused. 32%. The shield flashed with cracks of light. If it broke now, the energy wave would burn through Earth's atmosphere, striking cities before anyone could even run. Elena, shield is falling, the officer yelled, but just as the shield looked like it would shatter, the energy wave finally began to fade. The Dominion attack decreased in intensity and then vanished completely. The room fell eerily still. Smoke drifted from damaged consoles. Officers breathed hard, sweat glistened on faces. Shield level, Elena demanded. 24% but holding. A wave of relief passed through the room, but Elena did not allow celebration. This was only the beginning. They wanted to see how strong we are, she said. Now they will plan their next strike. As technicians worked quickly to restore full power, new information appeared on the tactical screen. Some of the Dominion ships were moving again, not back, forward. They were advancing deeper into Earth's space. A slow, cold fear settled in the room. They're sending their landing units, an officer whispered. They're coming straight for Earth. Elena straightened her uniform. They want to bring the fight to our home, she said softly. They think they can break humanity in one night. She looked around the command center, meeting the eyes of every officer. They're wrong. Her voice grew stronger. They think humans will kneel. They think humans will surrender, but they do not understand what humans become when we're pushed to the edge. Officers nodded, courage returning. Elena raised her hand. Prepare all forces. Activate every fleet within range. Humanity is done waiting for their next move. Her command echoed through the room like a spark igniting dry fuel. Humanity had survived the first strike. Now humanity would fight back. The Dominion fleet did not slow. After their first devastating strike, they continued moving toward Earth with a chilling calmness, as if they were not attacking a living world but clearing debris from their path. Their warships glided like silent predators through the dark, each one sharp and armored, built for only one purpose, domination. Inside the command center, the noise grew louder as officers worked desperately to repair damaged systems. Sparks flew from a broken console before technicians pulled the power cables out. Even with the chaos, Grand Admiral Elena Rise stayed steady. Her presence alone kept the room from collapsing under fear. A young officer ran toward her. Admiral, we received new data from Jupiter Station. Their long-range scanners caught something unusual behind the Dominion ships. Elena turned, show it. The image changed. Behind the main fleet, smaller shapes were traveling in tight formation, almost hidden by the shadows of their larger ships. These were not warships. They looked like troop carriers. A chill ran through the room. They're not just here to attack Earth, the officer said softly. They plan to land. Humanity had always feared the idea of alien boots on Earth's soil. The thought alone made several officers tense. How soon until they reach low orbit? Elena asked. 2 hours, maybe less. The command center fell silent again. 2 hours until the first alien soldiers stepped into Earth's sky. 2 hours until humanity faced an enemy they had never seen before. A communications officer suddenly shouted, Admiral, a transmission coming from the Dominion fleet. Everyone froze. The room fell silent, the tension so strong that even breath felt heavy. Humanity had waited for a message. Not hope, but something clearer than the silent, cold attacks. Put it on, Elena said. The speakers crackled, then a deep, synthetic voice filled the room. No emotion, no warmth. The words felt like metal scraping against stone. Humans. You will cease resistance. Surrender your planet, your species will be processed. Survival rate minimal. The message ended as suddenly as it began. Several officers stared in disbelief. Others clenched their fists in anger. They don't even want negotiation, someone whispered. They want extinction. Elena's eyes hardened, but her voice stayed calm. They believe we will surrender because they think we fear them. A tactical officer replied quietly, "Do we know why they're doing this?" "We'll learn their reasons later," Elena said. "Right now our reason to fight is simple, survival." She turned to her command staff. "Connect me to every fleet commander." Within moments, holograms of captains and admirals flickered into view, their faces tense, some bruised from sudden battles, others still in flight suits. Elena stood straight. "We are facing an enemy that does not care who we are. They see us as a problem they want to erase. We will not allow that, not today, not ever." The commanders nodded. No one needed more explanation. "Prepare counter-strike units," she said. "We need to buy time for the planetary shield to recover." Far above Earth, human ships began forming defensive lines. Destroyers, carriers, frigates, every vessel humanity had built now moved into position. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and many were damaged from the first attack, but they moved with purpose. They were protecting home. In space, the first human fleet met the approaching Dominion landing carriers. Missiles lit up the darkness. Energy beams sliced across the void. The Dominion ships reacted instantly. They returned fire with terrifying precision. Several human ships were hit. One broke apart in a silent explosion of burning metal. Another lost half its engines, drifting helplessly. In the command center, Elena watched without blinking. Each loss felt like a punch to her chest, but emotion would not win this war. Strategy would. "Send backup units," she ordered. "Tell them to target the thrusters on those troop carriers. If they lose maneuverability, they'll fall into the atmosphere too fast." The tactical officer nodded and relayed the command. A second wave of human ships fired at the Dominion carriers, aiming for their engines. One carrier shook violently as explosions rippled across its hull. It tipped sideways, losing control, falling toward Earth's gravity. "It's breaking orbit," an officer shouted. The burning carrier spiraled downward, turning into a streak of fire across the upper atmosphere. The room watched in silence as the alien ship crashed into the ocean with a massive plume of steam. Cheers erupted in the command center, but only for a moment. Dozens more carriers continued forward, and Earth's defenses were thinning. "Admiral, large energy surge detected. The Dominion fleet is preparing another main strike." Elena gripped the console. "How long?" 3 minutes. The shield was still weak from the first attack. Another hit could break it entirely. "Can we intercept the beam before it reaches us?" she asked. "Not with our current fleet positions." For the first time since the war began, Elena felt a heavy weight press against her chest. Humanity was running out of moves, but the universe was full of surprises. A sudden burst of light appeared near the moon, bright, sharp, unexpected. Officers shielded their eyes. What was that? Someone yelled. New readings flashed across the screen. Dozens of human ships warped into view, reinforcements from the far colonies arriving earlier than anyone predicted. A wave of hope spread across the room. "It's the Lunar Defense Wing," an officer said with relief, "and the Outer Belt Guardians too." Elena allowed a rare smile. They made it. The reinforcements wasted no time. They launched a massive barrage of missiles and kinetic rounds, striking the Dominion ships before they could release their second beam. Explosions lit up the darkness. Dominion vessels shifted defensively, some taking heavy damage. Their charging sequence began to destabilize. "They're losing control of the beam," the tactical officer said. The alien fleet turned their ships, trying to restabilize, but the reinforcements kept firing. Human ships moved like wolves, striking fast, forcing the enemy off balance. And for the first time in this war, the Dominion fleet looked uncertain, but victory was still far away. Their landing carriers were now entering the upper atmosphere. Trails of fire streaked across the sky. "They're coming," Elena whispered. "The ground battle is about to begin." Earth was no longer facing a distant threat. The enemy was descending upon its cities, and humanity was about to fight on its home soil. The first Dominion landing carriers sliced through Earth's atmosphere like burning meteors, leaving long trails of orange fire across the sky. Cities below watched in shock as the alien ships descended through the clouds, growing larger and darker with every passing second. Sirens echoed across continents. Military bases activated full alert. Civilians hurried into shelters, unsure if they would ever see outside again. Inside the command center, Grand Admiral Alina Rise stood firm, eyes locked on the real-time holograms showing the incoming carriers. The room felt heavier now, filled with quiet fear and growing determination. "Admiral," a sensor officer said, "the carriers will make planetfall in multiple regions: North America, Asia, Europe, Africa, almost every continent." "They want to spread chaos," Alina replied. "Confuse us, force us to split our defenses." "They've done this before," the officer whispered. "And so have we," Alina answered. "But humanity never breaks." She turned toward the ground command screen. "Prepare all surface response teams. We don't know what kind of troops they're sending. Tell every soldier to be ready for anything." Outside, humanity prepared for a type of war no one had ever imagined. As the first carrier approached a major city, defense cannons opened fire from rooftops and automated towers. Streams of energy shot upward, striking the massive alien ship's armor. But the Dominion vessel kept descending, shaking but not slowing. The ship released a deep metallic roar as its underside opened. A bright glow spread across the sky, almost like a second sun forming above the city. "They're dropping units," a ground operator shouted through the comm. From the glowing opening came dozens of dark shapes, armored Dominion soldiers. They fell from the carrier like metal rain, each one surrounded by a blue energy shield that absorbed air resistance and heat. They hit the ground with hard impacts, cracking concrete and sending shockwaves through the streets. For a moment, no one moved. Then the aliens began their advance. Humans watched in fear as the soldiers stood taller than any person, their armor glowing with alien power. Their faces, if they had faces, were hidden behind metallic masks shaped like sharp predators. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy, and their movements were cold, perfect, and inhuman. Earth's first defense squad opened fire. Bullets struck the Dominion soldiers. Some bounced off armor, others cracked shields. The aliens staggered for a moment, then returned fire, clean, precise beams that melted stone and tore through vehicles. The first human squad fell. The command center felt the loss immediately as the heart rate of the operator reporting the battle suddenly went silent. But Alina did not look away. "Deploy heavy units," she ordered. "Bring in the Titans." Moments later, giant mechanical walkers, human-built Titan mechs, marched onto the battlefield. Their steel legs thundered against the ground, weapons mounted on each arm. The people watching from shelters felt the ground shake with new hope. A Dominion soldier fired a beam at one of the Titans, but the mech's reinforced plating resisted the attack. The Titan returned fire, unleashing a barrage of rockets that tore through the alien lines. Explosions filled the streets as the massive mech stepped forward like an iron guardian. Inside the command center, officers cheered softly, relief touching their tense faces. But the victory did not last. Another carrier broke through the clouds, this one larger and darker than the others. It hovered above the city with an intimidating silence. A circular panel opened underneath it, revealing a glowing sphere of energy slowly spinning inside. The air around the city shifted. Wind pulled outward. Lights flickered. "Admiral," the sensor officer whispered, "this reading, I've never seen anything like it." Alina leaned forward. "What are they deploying now?" The officer hesitated, his hands shaking slightly. "It's some kind of gravity weapon." The weapon activated. A deep vibration spread across the city. Buildings trembled as if gripped by invisible hands. Cars lifted several inches off the ground. Loose debris rose into the air. A Titan mech stumbled, struggling to maintain balance as gravity twisted around it. "Stabilizers failing?" the ground operator shouted. The Dominion soldiers moved easily inside the shifting field. Their armor glowed brighter, adapting to the chaotic gravity. They advanced toward the human lines with calm steps, as if the battlefield was theirs to control. Alina's mind raced. "Get our science division on this. Find a way to counter that field." A communications officer spoke up. "We're getting messages from multiple continents. Same weapon, same effect. All landing zones are facing gravity distortion." The Dominion was not just stronger. They were prepared. The explosion that destroyed the Dominion gravity carrier rippled through the atmosphere like a collapsing star. Its dark shape broke apart into 1,000 burning pieces that streaked downward, disappearing into the clouds below. The ground teams felt the pressure shift instantly. The air steadied. Buildings stopped shaking. Titan mechs regained balance and straightened like giants waking from a nightmare. For a moment, Earth breathed, but victory came with silence. The silence of 5 ships that did not return. Inside the command center, the lights glowed dimly across the consoles as officers watched the destruction of the gravity carrier. The relief that washed over them quickly twisted into pain. Those 5 captains, those crews, they would never see home again. Grand Admiral Elena Rise stood motionless, eyes fixed on the fading explosion. She felt the loss like a knife, but she pushed the emotion down. The war was not over. Morning could come later if humanity survived. A sensor officer broke the quiet. Admiral, enemy movement detected. The Dominion warships are shifting formation. Elena turned immediately. Show me. The holographic display zoomed out, revealing the Dark Fleet reorganizing itself. Their lines stretched wider, forming a ring around Earth. More ships emerged from behind the larger vessels, hidden reserves, reinforcements that had waited until humanity was weakened. Shock spread through the room. They had backup this whole time, someone whispered. They wanted us to think we were gaining ground, another said. Elena studied the new formation. It was not an attack posture. It was something more calculated. They're preparing the next phase, she said quietly. Whatever they planned, this is it. On the ground, human soldiers continued fighting through the ruined streets. Titan mechs battled Dominion troops, metal fists crashing against alien shields. Tanks roared across highways, firing shells that shook the earth. Infantry squads moved between broken buildings, using every piece of cover they could find. Humanity fought with everything it had, and still more Dominion forces arrived. A new carrier swept across a desert region, landing troops in shimmering lines. Another descended toward a coastal city, its shadow swallowing entire neighborhoods. A third appeared above a mountain range, releasing a wave of floating drones that scanned the ground like hungry insects. The Dominion strategy became clear. They were not trying to destroy cities. They were trying to surround Earth's strongest defenses. Inside the command center, an officer gasped as new data appeared. Admiral, the Dominion ships, they're targeting our defense command hubs, all at once. Elena's heartbeat slowed. This was the moment she had feared. If Earth lost its command hubs, the entire defense network would collapse. How long until impact? She asked. 10 minutes for the first wave, maybe less for the ones closest. Elena inhaled deeply. Prepare countermeasures, launch every available interceptor. We won't have enough to stop all of them, the officer warned. I know, Elena said, but we must stop enough. She opened a channel to the ground forces. Across Earth, commanders listened as her calm voice reached them through static. Humanity stands together. Do not let them take our command centers. If those fall, our world falls. The reply from the ground was immediate. We won't let them, one commander said. You have our word, another added. Elena closed the channel. She trusted them. They trusted her. In war, trust was a weapon as powerful as any missile. But the Dominion had their own weapons, sensors lit with sudden red. Admiral, one of the Dominion battleships, is charging an enormous energy burst, much larger than the first strike. Elena's eyes narrowed. This one is aimed at the planetary shield. No, the officer whispered. It's aimed at our moon base. The room froze. The lunar base was more than a military outpost. It was humanity's oldest colony, home to thousands of scientists, families, and soldiers. It held power relays, navigation controls, armored bunkers, and memories stretching back centuries. A direct hit would vaporize it in seconds. Elena felt a new emotion rise inside her, fury. This attack was not strategic, it was cruelty. The Dominion wanted to break humanity's spirit. A transmission came through the speakers, a shaky voice. This is Commander Hale of Lunar Base Omega. We read the charging signature. We know what's coming. Elena stepped closer to the console. Hale, evacuate immediately. Hale gave a small laugh, a tired, sad laugh. Admiral, there's no time. If we launch escape shuttles, they'll be caught in the blast. Elena clenched her jaw. We will find a way to intercept the weapon. Hold on. Another voice joined from the lunar comm channel. Admiral, we're activating all power shields. They won't hold long, but maybe they'll buy time. Elena felt her throat tighten. You shouldn't have to do this. We all serve, ma'am, Hale replied. Just like the captains before us. The moon base lights flickered across the hologram. Soldiers rushed to shield stations. Families were moved into reinforced bunkers. Alarms echoed through the corridors. Back in the command center, the Dominion battleship reached final charge. Admiral, the officer said with a breaking voice, impact in 30 seconds. Elena felt helplessness for the first time since the war started. She had prepared for invasion. She had prepared for orbital battle. She had prepared for the possibility of alien soldiers on Earth, but she had not prepared to watch an entire colony die. Still, she refused to surrender. "Redirect every orbital cannon," she ordered sharply. "Fire everything at that ship." The command center erupted in movement. Orders flew across the system. Orbital platforms rotated toward the Dominion battleship. Planetary cannons adjusted targeting. Human ships still in orbit realigned, firing. Energy beams and missiles shot upward from Earth like a storm of fire, but the Dominion battleship's armor was thick, very thick. "Direct hits, but minimal damage," the officer said. Elena slammed her fist onto the console. Come on, break." The battleship released its weapon. A beam of deep red energy surged across space, heading directly toward the moon. Impact in 5 seconds. Elena whispered a single word, soft, broken. "No." The beam struck. A brilliant flash engulfed the lunar base. The hologram white-screened, blinding everyone for a moment. When the image returned, a vast crater of glowing dust floated where the colony once stood. The lunar base was gone. Everyone fell silent. Some gasped. Some cried softly. Others bowed their heads. Elena stood perfectly still, but inside her something snapped. Something deep, fierce, and ancient. Humanity had lost much today, too much, and the Dominion believed this would break them. But what they had really done was awaken something they would regret. Elena lifted her head slowly. "They wanted to see human surrender," she said, her voice low and shaking with emotion. "Instead, they will see what humanity becomes when everything is taken from us." Her eyes burned like fire. "Prepare the retaliation plan. They started this war, now we finish it." The officers looked at her with new determination. Humanity was done surviving. Now humanity would strike back, with pure fury. The crater left on the moon still glowed on the holographic display, a bright wound carved into humanity's oldest colony. The command center felt frozen in a moment of deep, raw shock. Officers stared at the screen as if refusing to believe what their eyes showed. Families, scientists, soldiers, children, all gone in an instant. Grand Admiral Elena Rise stood in silence, not because she was calm, not because she accepted the loss, but because her fury had gone beyond words. The Dominion believed that destroying the lunar base would shatter humanity's will. Instead, they had made a mistake beyond anything they could imagine, a mistake that would end their empire. Elena took a slow breath. "Begin the retaliation plan." The officers straightened, determination replacing grief. Every console lit up as commands rushed across Earth's defense network. The room filled with movement, voices, and a rising storm of energy. "Admiral," the tactical officer said, "our forces are mobilizing across all fronts. Orbital fleets are regrouping. Surface teams are holding their lines." Elena nodded. "Good, now we take back our sky." Human ships burned upward through the atmosphere, engines flaring like comet tails. Massive cruisers, sleek destroyers, and fighter swarms launched together, forming a unified wall of steel and fire. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity moved not in defense, but in attack. In space, Dominion ships rotated to meet the rising human fleet. Their cold weapons glowed, ready to strike again. But something was different now. Their formations tightened. Their movements sharpened. The destruction of the moon had not been a message, it had been a warning of what they were capable of. Humanity answered with something stronger. The human fleet charged forward with impossible speed. Pilots screamed battle cries. Ship captains barked commands. Missiles, cannons, and energy beams shot across the void, turning space into a battlefield of exploding light. The Dominion fleet returned fire. 2 human fighters vanished instantly. A cruiser took a direct hit, losing half its hull. But the human formation did not break. The ships tightened together, moved as one, flying with the precision of a single enormous creature. It was not perfect strategy. It was instinct. It was unity, it was fury, and it was working. The first Dominion warship cracked under the barrage. Flames burst from its engines as it spiraled into darkness. Human crews cheered, their spirits rising for the first time since the war began. "They're falling back," an officer shouted in the command center. "We're pushing them." Elena did not smile. "We're not done, press the attack." On the ground, Titan mechs regained full power. Their pilots, enraged after hearing about the moon, surged forward like iron beasts. One Titan grabbed a Dominion soldier and threw it into a burning wreck. Another raised its arm and fired a barrage of rockets that wiped out an entire alien squad. Infantry units pushed through broken streets with renewed strength. Human soldiers, covered in dust and sweat, shouted in defiance as they charged the Dominion lines. Even civilians who had taken shelter earlier now helped carry supplies, move equipment, and assist the wounded. Humanity was no longer afraid. They were angry. A Dominion commander watching from orbit felt hesitation, a concept alien to their species. Humans were supposed to break. They were supposed to collapse under pressure. But instead, they were rising stronger than before. The Dominion had fought countless species across the stars, but none had ever reacted like this. Humanity was becoming something they could not predict. Back in the command center, a new signal flashed on the tactical board. "Admiral," the officer said, eyes wide, "we've found the Dominion command ship. It's at the center of their ring formation." Elena's voice sharpened. "That ship is the brain of their operation. If we take it out, their entire battle network collapses." "How do we strike it?" the officer asked. Elena already had an answer. "We send our strongest fleet. And we lead them with the Stormbreaker squadron." Gasps spread through the room. The Stormbreakers were Earth's most elite pilots, famous, fearless, and known for impossible missions. They had been held in reserve since the start of the war. Now Elena was unleashing them. Moments later, 12 sleek fighters soared from Earth's surface like silver arrows, joining the main fleet at the front of the formation. Elena opened a channel. "Stormbreakers, your target is the Dominion command ship. Clear a path for our cruiser line. You must break their command net." A calm voice responded. "Understood, Admiral, for the moon, for Earth, for all of us." The Stormbreakers split into two wings and dove through enemy lines with deadly speed. Dominion cannons fired wildly, but the fighters moved like ghosts, twisting, rolling, disappearing between blasts. One Stormbreaker fired a pulse torpedo that detonated against the command ship's shield, cracking it like glass. Another flew dangerously close to an enemy turret, dropping a fusion charge that tore the weapon apart. The human fleet followed, pushing deeper toward the center of the Dominion formation. "Shields on the command ship are failing," a sensor officer shouted. "One more hit." Elena leaned forward. "Finish it." The Stormbreakers locked onto the heart of the Dominion ship. All 12 pilots fired at once. The combined blast punched through the alien hull and ignited the core. The Dominion command ship exploded. A roar echoed across Earth's fleet. The alien formation staggered, weapons firing chaotically. Without their command net, the Dominion forces became uncoordinated, vulnerable.